cold opening joke.
Tom fucking Cruise.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Rhyme and Reason. I am, of course, one half of your host, Matthew Kearns. My better half is the man sitting next to me. I'm not even sure how it's going to look when it ends up dropping, but he's on one of these sides of me, Sandy Robson. Sandy, how are you doing today?
Matt, I'm doing great. Thanks for that awesome introduction. You know what? I'm really excited about what we're talking about today. I know I try to say that every single time, but what we're going to talk about today, I think, needs to be talked about because I think it's very easily is this person forgotten, but not forgotten at the same time. Everybody knows, but do they really respect him as much as they should? Not sure.
That's a question we may or may not remember to answer by the end of this conversation. The man in question, of course, if you couldn't read the title, which we're okay, we don't shame the blind Take 3 fans. Or maybe one day, if you're listening to this on the Take 3 podcast network that at the time of this recording doesn't exist, maybe you don't know. We're talking about Tom Cruise. Very specifically, I want to point out, we're not talking about Tom Cruise's personal life. We're not talking about his relationships with Nicole Kidman or Scientology or anything. We're talking about Tom Cruise as an actor and a person working in film. I want to put that out there. So if you're not like, oh, why didn't you talk about this? That's why. Because it's nothing to do with Tom Cruise, the actor. Well, we might touch on it from one of his roles of why it. But regardless, that's not the big. Yeah, because me and Sandy both just love Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise is in my top 5 actors. I think of people working in Hollywood, he's one of the hardest working actors since he started in the 80s. So we're going to talk about favorite Tom Cruise movie and characters. Really only 2 big discussions, and then everything else kind of just build out there. It's maybe on the shorter side. I don't know. It depends on how much we want to talk about Cruise. So, Sandy, I guess, first question. Who's your favorite Tom Cruise? Like, what's your favorite Tom Cruise performance? Let's start with that one, and then we'll...
Okay. So that's a completely different story.
Performance and movie, that's why originally I was going to do it, but I'm like, at least for me, it's separate, but...
Yeah.
Continue.
My favorite Tom Cruise performance is him in Born on the 4th of July. I think Tom had done some dramatic acting, before that, like in Taps. Risky Business was a more dramatic role. Although I could argue that Cocktail, more of a romantic comedy, but yeah. But I could say that, like same thing with, never mind. But no, him in Born on the 4th of July was such a huge departure from what he'd normally done. Oliver Stone directed this movie, and I think really brought out the best in Tom. It was such a moving portrayal of what it was really like for somebody to come back who'd been so gung-ho and so wanting to impress and do something right for his country, to be almost forgotten. And then to be confused at that, like you were so interested in me when I was a whole person and you wanted me to fight your war, but now I come back after losing so much in that war, and you guys have nothing. Like you guys like nothing. You treating me like a pile of garbage, and I think it was a very moving performance. but it's once again, it's Tom Cruise, so it's super tough for me just to pick one. But if I'm going to pick a performance that I loved, not necessarily rewatch a ton because it's a tough movie to get through emotionally, but that performance, I'm going to give a shout out for just a couple of movies that I want to just add on to that one. I think that him in A Few Good Men is ridiculously good. I mean, I think that whole movie is really, really good. I think it's more of a Jack Nicholson vehicle than it is a Tom Cruise vehicle for that movie. But Matt, you got like the eyebrow thing going on there.
I don't know. I'm just.
And I would be remiss. I would be remiss if I didn't bring up his performance in Magnolia, which I think is another one of those ones. Just be prepared is all I gotta say.
I've never seen Born on the 4th of July either.
Oh damn, Matt, you got some work to do on Tom Cruise.
Yeah, sure.
What's your favorite Tom Cruise performance, Matt?
Cocktail, of course.
Nice.
Tom Cruise be my bartender. No, my favorite Tom Cruise performance. I'm not gonna say what it used to be because that's probably my favorite. It's hard to say when we get to the movie, but my favorite Tom Cruise performance is Jerry Maguire. Jerry Maguire is a movie that I've always liked. Like since the first time I saw it, it was always a movie that like was always on TV. It was one of those movies that like I can pick up and watch it no matter if it's at the beginning, the middle, near the end. Like if I'm channel surfing, it's like, oh, Jerry Maguire's on. Like I will just watch it the whole way through. And recently, a couple months ago, I bought the DVD of it finally. And through that, it's just like, it's been a movie that's like, it's just in my rotation when it's like, lazy Friday night, I'll watch Jerry Maguire. And his performance is like, it's dramatic, it's comedic, and it's real. Like, it feels like he really spent time creating a full character. And it's this guy who had so much at the beginning of this movie, and then through one moment, kind of all that got taken away from him. Like, he was this big, fast-talking sports agent who, like, all his clients were just, like, numbers on a spreadsheet. And then he did the interaction with the kid that curses him out, because his dad's a hockey player and he got knocked out again and he's, put in a coma. And it's just like, that kind of just breaks him. And then his relationship with Cuba Gooding Jr. is so good. And so their friendship is so believable, how it kind of starts in like a client, like kind of player agent. And then by the end of the movie, it's indisputable that they're friends for life. And of course, Renee Zellweger and him have such believable chemistry. I believe the actor's name is Jonathan Lipnicki, who plays the kid. But that's again, like, Tom Cruise is so funny, he doesn't get to show it a lot. That scene when he's talking to the kid, and it's just like, why can't I think of the kid's name now? I watch this movie all the time, and right now I'm getting a brain fart on the kid's name. But when he's just like, fucking zoo's closed. Like, and then when it's like, oh, you said fuck. And it's like, don't tell your mom. Like, he plays drunk really well, too. I love him, and there's so many different, the reason why it's my favorite performance is because, like, he's great in the Mission Impossible movie. Well, he's great in 3 and Fallout. By acting. Like, making the character. The other ones, I feel like he's kind of just Tom Cruise, whereas in 3 and Fallout, I think he is Ethan Hunt. He's great in a lot of movies, but Jerry Maguire is the one that it just feels like he really sat down and kind of took this script and was like, I want to make this feel like a real lived-in... Because it does. Like, it feels like a genuinely lived-in person when you meet up with Jerry, and then just all this stuff, how it changes him. And Abe disagrees with me, but I think he should have won the Oscar for this movie, which he was thankfully nominated for. I thought that was so cool. Yeah. I didn't know that. So yeah, what are your thoughts on Jerry Maguire? Because I would have given my thoughts on Born on the 4th of July if I had seen it. But what are your thoughts on Jerry Maguire?
I love that you brought the humor aspect up in this movie, because one of like, if you were going to ask me what my favorite scene is in this movie, my favorite scene is drunk Jerry at the house, and
Oh yeah.
when Cuba Gooding calls and the kid answers the
Oh,
phone, and Tom is just sitting there laughing the whole time, and he's like, "Who is this?" And Cuba is flipping out in the background,
he's in
and
the
the kid is just
bathtub.
he's in the bathtub. He's like, "Where's Jerry?" And the
My
kid is just
agent,
smiling.
Jerry
He's just
Maguire.
yeah, and the kid is just laughing and having a good time, and you're really angry. And it hangs up the phone, and Tom is killing himself laughing on the couch. It's one of my favorite all-time scenes in movies. I think it's hilarious. But yeah, that movie has so much heart in it, and you're right. We talked about the journey in Born on the 4th of July. Jerry goes through that journey here as well. He starts out as that hip, hot agent that can sweet talk anybody on his things, to being, kind of backstabbed and losing sort of his momentum, and not knowing who his person is in that movie, and breaking up with his fiance, and then getting his ass beat. The relationship between him and Cuba Gooding Jr. Yeah, you're right. It did start out as agent, and where clearly Cuba had the upper hand, because he was the only person that was in Jerry's stable at that point. So, but what they turned out to in the end, that one scene where Jerry's sitting out in the hallway and all the reporters are going there, and you just sort of see Jerry sort of back up. He's happy but he just puts his head down and is smiling. And who breaks through the crowd of all the people that want his autograph and want to talk to him? Where does he go? First place, right over to Jerry, and a big hug where he starts to cry. And that to me was, Jerry Maguire has one of the physical best endings, one of the that great happy ending that you always that people want to see, that they want to leave the theater from, and it's so good. It's a great
and that's my thing. So my two favorite scenes in the movie are, well, I think I know what you're talking about. That's one of my favorites, is when he comes back to the house and she's kind of dropped something, and he comes in to the divorced woman's group, and he's just like, I'm looking for my wife. And then it's just like the whole thing, and like, it's really cheesy, I know, but I love that so much, and the way they play it feels so believable, and especially like the scene before that between the two of them outside, where it's just like, where she's kind of starting to see maybe they rushed into the marriage a little bit too quickly, and let's just treat this next road trip, and he doesn't want to give up. Like, that's just in him. He doesn't want to give up, but like, it's kind of like, are you, and then just that moment is just like, he's decided that like, this isn't about how I don't want to fail at something, or I don't want to give up, like, I legitimately love her. The ending itself, like the legitimate ending, I think is hilarious when he picks up the baseball and he flings it back. He's like, I'm not saying that we're going to put him into the majors, but it's just like, that's so, imagining Jerry Maguire as Ray. That's it. Ray. Ray's the kid's name. Yep. Imagining Jerry Maguire as Ray's stepfather, like if Ray ever plays sports, is just something that him standing on the sidelines of the soccer game just makes me crack up of what a Jerry Maguire 2 could have been, which I'm glad they didn't. There was no reason to follow up. But my other favorite scene in that movie is, it's really hard to choose between two. I'm not going to go with the help me help you. I'm going to go with another one between Jerry and Rod, which is, it's when they're coming out of the game and they're kind of talking about, kind of Jerry's marriage and all this and everything, and Jerry's kind of getting annoyed because Rod has such a great marriage and all this, and then, and Rod's still complaining about how he doesn't have this and he doesn't have that, and Jerry just finally cracks, and he just gives his reasoning to Rod, where he's like, you know why you don't have these contracts, you don't have everything? Because every time you step out onto that field, you're thinking about who is the contract that you don't have and who's getting the sponsorship you don't have. If you played with as much, when you're at home, you're all heart. When you go on the field, it's all about what I don't have, what I got screwed out of, and then the I'll see you in LA, and then the no heart, I'm all heart, motherfucker. Like, it is so perfect the way Cuba Gooding Jr. and Tom Cruise play that scene is, it starts off with Jerry trying to be the understanding agent, and then it's once they move into the marriage, it gets tough for Jerry, and then he just cracks and finally says what he's known but hasn't had the heart to tell Rod.
Or the guts.
And finally at this moment, he's just like, you know what? Screw it. I'm going to tell you why you don't have this. And I think it is so perfect, and it comes... the movie, I think, is just such a... I don't know what it is about Jerry Maguire, but it's just one of those movies that I think is just so perfect. Like, it does everything good that it sets out from. You have a complete character arc. It's funny. It's heartfelt. So Jerry Maguire is my favorite Tom Cruise performance.
There's nothing wrong with that, Matt. You know what? I am right there with you. It is not a guilty pleasure of mine. You're right. Whenever I see this movie come on, I'll just start watching from wherever it is. So.
I mean, it's the type of movie that, like, my dad has a tendency to heckle movies. He doesn't even heckle Jerry Maguire when it's on. Well, when it gets to the, I'm looking for my wife, you have me hello, that moment. But besides that, it's just such a good movie. Also, Cuba Gooding Jr. deserved that Oscar. He is so
I know. So good.
Freaking good in that movie.
He is. And I mean, I'll just touch on something else that you mentioned about the movie, because what I love about the ending, not the actual ending, but that part that you just talked about where he comes into the room. You got to understand, from Tom Cruise's character standpoint, he has a choice to make. He's just been given a free pass. You know what? I can just cut and run and go out.
The
and
marriage
done.
Can just be done, and that's
just be done, and I don't have to worry about it anymore. And I go back to being Tom. I can go back to be Jerry Maguire, and that's fine. The other choice is he walks through that door knowing what's on the other side. Like, he knows what's on the other side, and that's a group of man-hating women I don't
think he knows that the divorce group is there, but he knows walking.
He does when he walks in.
Well, when he walks in, but I'm saying before he gets there, like when he's running from the airport and everything, he knows that the last time he talked to Renee Zellweger, it's pretty clear that she's all for divorce. It's pretty clear at that point. And he's going to this house, going to someone who he knows. She kind of wants the marriage to be over. Her sister is on her side, of course, like all this, but he doesn't care. And I think that's the thing that I love about the scene is, like, he doesn't get, like, that's why I love there's all the divorced women and everything. He still is just like, excuse me, like, I'm looking for my wife. It's so perfect. And it feels, that is the moment when that character has made the arc, because most of the movie, he's doing things that he thinks is the right thing to do for his career, is the right thing to do. Like, the reason why he marries her is because he's like, I do have a lot of feelings for her. And if I don't marry her now, she's going to move to San Diego, and I'm not sure what's going to happen. So I'm just going to roll the dice. Like, that's... Whereas now he's made a full arc, which is, I don't care what happens. I don't even care if she still wants to get a divorce. I just need to tell her this. And it's so perfect.
Yep, I agree.
Jerry Maguire right now. I might do that after this. I don't know. Nice. I got the DVD so I can watch it all the time. And I'm telling you, I got the, like, shitty, like, it's just the movie. Like, there's no commentary. I need to upgrade to the Blu-ray, though, for that. There was a great Blu-ray, I think that was released a couple years ago that I need to upgrade to, but I was like, I just need Jerry Maguire. It was the only one at the place, and I was like, man, I'm walking home with Jerry Maguire today. Alright, so now, let's move into favorite Jerry Maguire movie. Favorite Tom Cruise movie, which can be one and the same, but sometimes they're different. So, Sandy, what is your favorite Tom Cruise movie?
Oh, it's so tough. It really is. I'll probably regret it the moment I say it. just because I'll be thinking about the other one that's like right there. Um, but I think if I have to choose, which I have to,
Yes.
I'm gonna say A Few Good Men. A Few
Okay.
Good Men is my favorite by a very small margin. Tom Cruise movie. Just like you said with Jerry Maguire, this is legitimately a movie that and it's been proven. It doesn't matter where it is, where it started, how it is. If I find it on TV, I just turn it on. It's got so many good quotes in it. Tom Cruise, although probably like I said, not his best acting performance,
Mm-hmm.
but one of his greatest performances. Period. The whole thing. Once again, he's kind of typecast. As the same type of Jerry Maguire type character. He's a hotshot lawyer. He's never had to go into court. He always settles out of court, but he does it because he wins. He's that smart. He's that good. But he takes it for granted. His father was a big litigator. We find out more about him as the movie goes on. But it's really the interactions between him, Demi Moore, and Jack Nicholson that really, really, really open up his character in that movie. And everybody knows what do you want? I want answers. I want the truth. You can't handle it. Everybody knows that. I love it for the other stuff. I love it for him getting pissed off, and drunk, when they lose their key witness, and freaking out at Demi Moore, and then realizing that it's a big thing in that conversation they have when he's just running her down in the rain. The Jack Nicholson the Colonel Jaffe at when they're over in Guantanamo Bay and they're having lunch and it's all nice and dandy until he's like, "You forgot to say, sir." And he's like, "Oh, can I please have the paperwork, sir?" And so you can still, it was all friendly, and just until that, and then you just realize that, yeah, you know what? Maybe it's not as friendly as they'd like to think it is. Such a good movie, such a great cast in that movie, and I think just in a great cast, it could easily get the star could easily get lost, but he doesn't. He still stands out in it, and for me, it's 100% a movie that I think he was robbed of not even being nominated. I mean, I know Jack was nominated and won for that, but for him not to have even gotten a nomination, it's one of my big picks. That's one of the reasons why we decided to talk about Tom Cruise today, because we think that he gets overlooked for award stuff, and he has. I mean, I still think he's one of the better actors that's never won an Academy Award that should have won an Academy Award by now. But regardless of whether or not we're right or wrong on when he should win an Academy Award, it doesn't really matter. My favorite Tom Cruise movie is A Few Good Men.
That's a great movie. I love that movie to pieces. It's in my top 30 favorite films. I think how Tom plays that is so good. If he plays this kid who sort of went into law with this sort of the looming power of who his father was. And then what you touched on, I think, was so good, of where he plays his relationship with Demi Moore and Jack Nicholson are two sides of a coin, where it's Demi Moore is trying to show the sort of what the Navy and the military can be and what these people do, whereas Jack Nicholson is the dark side of that, which is like, this is what we do, so we have the power to do these things. Like, because we stand on a wall with a gun, we have the power to abuse a weaker kid. We have the power to do this, and I have the power to say that this is okay, and to order these code reds because because we stand with the guns, we're allowed to do that. And Tom Cruise plays so well at the beginning, he's kind of leaning towards Jack Nicholson, not agreeing, but more in like, listen, this is kind of clean cut, like, these guys know what they did, and then by the end, he's totally on Demi Moore's side of just like, and it's talk about endings that just kind of choke you up in the best way is just, there's a lieutenant, and he salutes him, and then Tom walks out of the court, and there's the great kind of, corner shot, and then just the end just sort of fades. Like, it's such an amazing movie. I love it so much. Again, he is so good in it, and I do agree with you. I'm not sure who is. I'm actually fascinated to see who. I'm looking up the Oscars from '93 because
while you're doing that, I'll just bring up another a great scene that you touched.
Because I really want to see who was nominated for Best Actor and see if Tom could have made it in.
I will say this: one of the great conversations is between Kevin Pollak and Demi Moore when Demi Moore asks him, why do you hate these guys so much? And Kevin comes, and his response is, the two of them are so good in that scene.
And they're both right. They're both right, which is they bullied a kid. They took a kid who was weak, and then why do you like them? Because they stand with a gun. And it's like, neither one of them is wrong. Because they do stand with those guns, and they do defend our rights. But they also bullied a kid. And that's true. Abused a kid.
You said it was the two sides of the coin. I actually think that the two sides of the same coin are Demi Moore and Kevin Pollak in that movie. Kevin sees them as bullies who picked on a smaller kid, and Demi Moore sees them as protectors who stand on a wall and do a really hard job. You're right. Neither of them are wrong. They're both guilty. They're both guilty and not guilty of the same thing. They stand on a wall and protect us.
And that's why the end of the movie works, because you're like, no, what they did, but so Best Actor, the nominees were Al Pacino, Scent of a Woman, Robert Downey Jr., Chaplin, Clint Eastwood, Unforgiven, Stephen Ray, The Crying Game, and then Denzel Washington, Malcolm X. Al Pacino ended up winning.
Al Pacino %. I don't know. I don't know if in that group, if Tom Cruise would have stood a chance of winning.
I've never seen The Crying Game or Malcolm X.
Malcolm X,
Chaplin, or Scent of a Woman. I've seen Unforgiven, and I'm glad Clint Eastwood got nominated because he's amazing in that movie. Speaking of Unforgiven, actually, Gene Hackman won Best Supporting Actor for Unforgiven, not Jack Nicholson.
Oh, not Jack Nicholson. That's right.
Which again, that's another. I'm like, totally deserved because Hackman's so good in that movie. I guess it
was a tough year. So
it was a tough year. So maybe it's not totally a snub. Okay, so I was really just fascinated by that one because I always feel like we could do a whole episode on who we think should have won Best Actor in this year, and who wasn't even nominated. We could do a whole episode on that.
Absolutely.
But
what's your favorite movie from Tom Cruise?
My favorite movie from Tom Cruise.
Remember, it could be the same one.
It could. It might. I don't know. I might be entering the danger zone with my pick. Or possibly I could be shaking things up with another pick.
Uh-oh.
Or I could be knocking the 8-ball with another pick. Or I could be accepting the mission for another pick.
Don't keep us in suspense.
Crap, I'm kind of running out of shit. My favorite Tom Cruise movie is Rain Man.
Nice.
Everyone says it's a Dustin Hoffman movie. It's not. Dustin Hoffman is amazing as Raymond, but he has no arc. Tom Cruise has the arc in that movie.
Yeah.
This used to, up until about last year when Jerry Maguire kind of started to take over, this was my favorite Tom Cruise performance.
Nothing wrong with that.
What? There are movies that you see that hold emotional resonance with you that is unexplainable. And Rain Man is one of those movies. From the first time I saw it to any time I watch it after, it just clicks something in me. I can't even really tell you guys. It just is the story is so beautiful. So Tom Cruise plays this character. He's kind of this fast talking. He's like this car dealer, and he's kind of like an asshole. And his dad passes away, and you find out that him and his dad had a really bad relationship, and then he finds out that he had a brother. His brother is he's an autistic savant. He's super smart, but he can't really operate in normal society. And his brother, it's either the brother, no, it's the doctor who's taking care of the brother, has been given all the money. Tom Cruise got none of, his father was really rich, Tom Cruise got none of the money. So he goes to visit this brother, and then he kidnaps Raymond. And he's kind of going to hold him for ransom to get his share, what he feels like is his share. But what happens through the course of the movie is he doesn't care about the money, he starts to care about Raymond. And, like, I'm a brother. I have a younger brother. That might be it. I don't know. There's just something about that relationship that he has. And then he starts to kind of learn that this is... I'm going to spoil the movie just because I need to talk about this. If you haven't seen Rayman, please turn this off. Return to it once you've seen Rayman. There's this thing where Charlie, who's Tom Cruise's character, is talking to his girlfriend about how when he was a kid, there was this imaginary friend he had that he would call the Rain Man, who would come and sing to him and take care of him. And what he learns later on in the film is that Rain Man was Raymond, was his older brother. And what happened, and like Raymond would sing to him and would, not take care of him, like watch him, of course, but because that leads into what you find out is in a really... The way they do it, I think, is so good because you could have easily just had it be a talking scene where this is explained, but how they do it is Charlie's filling a bath for Raymond. And Raymond has a picture of him with Charlie when he was a baby. And then Raymond kind of touches the water and it's really, really hot and he starts having a flip out. And he starts talking about baby, you hurt baby. And what you realize is, and Charlie even realizes it too, is the reason why Raymond was sent away to this institution, this home, was because he tried to give Charlie a bath when he was a baby, and he either did put him in the bath, and of course, or he could have killed him because it was too hot. And you go, and it's just, I love the fact that Tom Cruise has one freak out, and it's never, he gets out of the car and he does it, but he never does it to Raymond. He never freaks out on him. And I think that's so great, and just the fact of, there's a scene where he can get his share of the money, but he doesn't want it. He actually wants to take care of Raymond. And then I love the fact that, Raymond puts like Pop-Tarts in a toaster and leaves them, and there's a fire. And he realizes that he gives him back to the doctors because he can't take care of Raymond, but he's going to visit him every week. And it's just, the ending, I think, is so great of Raymond sitting on the train and Charlie looking at him. And part of you wants Raymond to look up and wave. But Raymond, that's just not in his world. But the fact is Charlie's okay with that. And I think it's such the way Tom Cruise plays it, and then the way the movie is so powerful, and it's just such a beautiful piece of movie making. It's one of those movies that, I'm so glad I won Best Picture because it's so deserving of it. So yeah, that's my favorite Tom Cruise movie is Rain Man.
It's a great choice, Matt. It really is. As somebody who has a brother, I completely understand. But it's also somebody who spent a large part of their time working with adults with developmental and physical disabilities. It's hard. It's hard to do, that when somebody's in need of you so much, and all the time. And I agree. I think acting performance wise, yeah, this is a Dustin Hoffman movie. I think growth wise, you're right. Like, Dustin doesn't do any growing. He's the same Raymond he is from the beginning to the end, with a little bit of variation here and there. I think he becomes closer with Charlie, and you can see that, but there's no real connection because of his disability. And it's Tom Cruise's character that really grows, because yeah, he goes from being this this just self-centered, wanting just what was his and what he just wanted for himself, to this person who is, you know what, I can't do this. Like, I can't take care of him. He's gonna hurt himself or somebody else, and I can't live with that. I can't live with that. So I have to do the hardest thing now that I've fallen in love with my own brother again. I now have to do the hardest thing that I've ever known, and that's to let him go to people who can continue it. You have no doubt in your mind that he's going to be part of Raymond's life going forward, no matter what. And that, I think, is the greatest gift that movie gives us, is that the reconnection of two people that were so different, but yet found a commonality between themselves and able to reconnect. That's one of the few handful of movies that, at that particular scene when he's leaving, I choke up pretty significantly. So yeah. Great pick, man. Great pick.
Yeah, and great pick on your end too. And I think we're gonna start wrapping up. I mean, listen, we could. And I think Mission Impossible, we're going to save. I think that's a whole episode talking about that whole series itself. I think we'd have a lot of fun. Because then it's like favorite stunt from the movies. So we're going to save that for a later episode. But I think, start wrapping up, I think that's the thing about Tom Cruise. Is he, just look at the roles we talked about and the movies we talked about. We only talked about, in total, 4 movies.
4 or 5.
And there's so many more. So many we could talk about. Tropic Thunder, which is one of the funniest performances ever in a movie. And I'm always I wish it was October, because I legit, if Halloween was tomorrow, I would be Les Grossman. I just watched Tropic Thunder the other night, and I want to do that for Halloween so badly. I think that would be so much fun. Heck, I might just on that Tuesday just dress up as Les Grossman, just walk around as him.
Wander around.
But he's he's in my top 5 favorite actors of all time, because he's a guy who, at least from the movies I've seen, which is a fairly big number of his career, he's never gotten to, even at this stage of stardom and fame, he's never gotten to, the Bruce Willis stuff, to where it's, later in Bruce Willis's career, it's, does he care? Does he not care? He always gives 110%. And he could have been a pretty boy actor who just stuck with, teen beat movies like Cocktail and Top Gun. Yeah, well, Top Gun is a movie we're going to talk about at a completely different time, because Top Gun is one of the greatest 80s action movies ever. But I'm going to save that, I think, for next week's discussion. It's going to be on 80s action movies. I think that he could have done that. He had the looks, he had the charm from Risky Business, that he could have been one of these guys who just, made his mark just doing, teen pictures, but he didn't. He always strived to do, at the same time, he was doing Cocktail, he also did Color Money, and he was doing Born on the 4th of July, and A Few Good Men, and Rain Man, and Top Gun, and he just, as always, sure, in the last couple of years, he's kind of just stuck with the Mission Impossible movies, but I'm also just well, he's getting a little bit older. He is really famous, but he does put 100... he puts 2,000% into every Mission Impossible movie. I think the people who fired him from Jack Reacher are stupid. He was the sole thing that kept me watching Never Go Back. The first Jack Reacher, I think, is a very underrated action movie.
It's great.
It's not one of the great action movies, but it is, for what it is, and it's because of Tom Cruise. Because if you had a lesser actor, the movie would have sucked. I can't wait for Maverick, of course. As a Top Gun fan, it's going to be freaking... And yeah, sure. Does he have the Mummy every now and again? Yeah, but that was a weird movie. I don't even think like Philip Seymour Hoffman, could have done the Mummy and had it work out. So Sandy, what are your sort of wrap up thoughts on Tom Cruise?
I love Tom Cruise. A good friend of mine and a good friend of the channel's Chance Ellison is a huge Tom Cruise fan too. I get into long conversations, with a lot of people about Tom Cruise, specifically, movies. I think he's just one of those unaging actors that will just continue to do everything. I mean, how old is he now? 60?
I will pull it up.
Right now. The dude jumped across a building, shattered his freaking ankle, and just to do a stunt.
He's 56.
So I mean, he's up there. And
you don't look it though.
You don't look it. He looks like
him and Brad Pitt. What river are they drinking from?
It's they found the fountain of youth and they kept it all. They kept it all the same, exactly.
No, but it's not even that.
It's true.
They've aged, but they have aged super fantastically.
Yeah. But I mean, I would, for my closing thought, and I would suggest that you do this as well, Matt. I'm older than you are. So I have a bit more, of an older vibe when it comes to movies. Mm-hmm. I'm going to recommend to people out there a couple of movies that I think that if you haven't really, gotten into Tom Cruise, or you've seen the recent stuff and you don't know what the hype is, I want you guys to go and watch Taps. He's not in it a ton, but it's a great Matthew Modine and Sean Penn movie, but he's in it and he does a great performance in the role that he's in. And go and rewatch Minority Report. It's a great Steven Spielberg movie, and it's got a great Colin Farrell movie. But it often gets overlooked as a Tom Cruise movie for some reason, and Tom is fantastic in that whole movie. It's like science fiction fugitive. It's so good. It's such a good movie. It is one of those ones that I every time I watch it, I'm so riveted. Even though I know exactly what's coming next, I'm still on the edge of my seat. If you just there's a lot of great movies out there.
It's just a fascinating movie to talk about, like the police really and the relation to crimes and exactly. What is predetermined, and it is a great movie.
It's fate. It's all about fate and whether or not you believe it or you can change it, and that's the precogs and so it's absolutely one of my favorite Tom Cruise performances. Matt, you already mentioned Top Gun. I mean, I'm part of Team 80s for crying out loud. Top Gun is my jam.
It's not that it's this, it's a little cheesing stuff, but it's actually, and what Tom Cruise does as Maverick is he treats it as seriously as he does A Few Good Men, and Tony Scott treats it seriously. I think it's just, and again, we'll get into this very quickly. I think Die Hard is my favorite action movie of all time. I think Top Gun in relation to these is the most important action movie. I think had Top Gun not come out and was the movie it was, Die Hard would be a completely different movie. Because I think what Tom Cruise did character-wise and what Tony Scott did technically with that movie and the collaboration with Jerry Bruckheimer and everything that movie did, it's like the ultimate, one of the ultimate summer blockbusters for me. Like, it just is so much. We'll get into that much more when we talk about summer blockbusters and 80s action movies, but it is amazing. So if you have not seen Top Gun ever, because you've written it off from it's the beach volleyball scene, don't go watch it. It is amazing.
Great. It's great.
Other ones I'm gonna recommend on the same lines as Sandy. War of the Worlds. His last collaboration with Steven Spielberg, really great. Tom Cruise plays it. There's a couple things that don't work about the movie, but Tom Cruise, I think, is great throughout it, and he plays a different kind of character than usually. Jerry Maguire and Rayman, of course. And then I'm gonna actually to the excitement and glee, I'm sure, of Sandy, I'm gonna recommend Color Money.
Nice.
I think Cruise is fantastic in that movie. What Scorsese does with him and Paul Newman is really fantastic, and who Cruise kind of is in that movie is really interesting. He has a dark arc in that movie, and it's great. So there, Tom Cruise is amazing. That's why we're doing this episode. Please put in the comments your favorite Tom Cruise character movie is, and Sandy, where can the good people find you online?
You guys can find me here at Take 3 Productions with Matt every Saturday doing Rhyme and Reason, where next week we're going to talk 80s action movies. I cannot freaking wait. I'm so happy about this next episode. But you guys can also find me on Take 3 as well every Thursday as much as I can, usually with my partner over here as well on Late Night with Take 3. And you guys can find me all over Full Metal Trivia. If you guys want to play in a match, if you guys want anything to do with trivia relation, we do singles, teams, classic, multiplayer format, geek, battleground, which is movie debating. We do it all. Hit me up on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and Letterboxd at S Robinson 1799. Matt, this was a great episode. Thanks so much for having me again.
Hit Sandy up on MySpace.
MySpace. That's right. So AOL at
AIM. Hit him up on AIM, girls.
AIM.
He's taken. Right. As always, you guys can find me at currents_Matthew on Twitter. MattMovie611 YouTube right here as co-host on Rhyme and Reason with Sandy Robinson. Episodes go up every Saturday. You can also find me as host of the monthly series Second Look. Episode coming out this month is going to be on the Smallville Season 2 finale, Exodus. You can also find me every week pretty much now on the Schmodown Reactor Summit, where we talk about all things Schmodown. This is a great episode. Please remember to like, comment, and share this video around. Word of mouth helps. So thank you guys so much for watching. We hope you enjoyed, and we'll see you next time.